But man, congrats to you with all the success on AEW and everything like that, dude. It's been awesome to see. As a friend and a fan of all the hard work that you've put in over these last years, it's been really, really, really inspiring to watch. And I've got to ask right off Jump Street, dude.
Let's hear the hard-hitting questions.
Hard-hitting questions. What was it like? First, take me through the process of when you found out you were going to wrestle Chris Jericho, and then what was that like?
Oh, that's because you're a huge Chris Jericho fan.
I do. I am a big Jericho fan.
I mean, listen, I appreciate Chris Jericho in the wrestling industry, but I wouldn't say he was my 1 or 2 or top 10 or 20. So I'm trying to think of other people that I've wrestled. Like, I wrestled D'Lo Brown once, and that was like, what? I'm wrestling D'Lo Brown. So yes, I did wrestle Chris Jericho. I think the cool thing is that I got to wrestle him on Wednesday night on TNT on national television in a pretty like back and forth wrestling match. So the whole world got to see it. That was the important part. And that wasn't necessarily Chris Jericho, because I see him as a peer and almost an equal. You know, I know he's a legend in wrestling, but you know, we're both doing our job. So the cool part was having a higher profile match on television, which is nice, which is always nice. I guess the equivalent of, you know, I don't know, getting a 30, a Comedy Central half hour. Right.
I think that's a very good comparison. Yeah, I was just wondering, so, because Jericho, is he the biggest name you've ever wrestled? In terms of like notoriety?
Does The Rock count?
I mean, what has he done lately?
Right.
I mean,
yeah, then it's probably Jericho.
No, of course The Rock counts, dude.
I haven't wrestled The Rock.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how shitty am I at my job? Well, I didn't know that, like, The Rock. I just remember seeing that you were gonna wrestle Jericho, and of course you should see him as a peer because, sorry, Chris, COLT Cabana's a better wrestler than you are. You are 100% a better wrestler than he is. But I mean, I know that guy's been like in the industry for a long time.
Yeah.
Seems to be a pretty good guy from what I've read.
I did wrestle a wrestler named Kenta Kobashi, who nobody in America would know, but he's essentially, I would say like a Kurt Angle or a Stone Cold of Japan. So I got to wrestle him when I was in New Japan, and then of course, or when I was in Pro Wrestling Noah, and then of course I wrestled the last 2 years in a company called New Japan, and I wrestled this guy named Okada and Tanahashi, and those guys are essentially the John Cena's and, you know, whoever, you know, the Rocks of Japan. So, I mean, those were kind of the biggest stars that I've gotten to wrestle.
That's cool. Do you get more pumped up for a bigger name, or do you just kind of go in the same, mindset with whoever you're going to wrestle?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. Because they're the good questions. Because like when it's somebody that like I can kind of control, like I just feel like I could do whatever the fuck I want to do. You know what I'm saying? And so then like I feel like the most free. And then if it's a bigger name and someone who has more stature, like I have to like be on with my P's and Q's, and I don't want to like upset them or anything. And so those are little things you have to worry about.
Definitely. Okay. Well, then I'll equate it to stand up, because what you said makes complete sense. I know we want to do big shows, of course, but it's way more fun to do a big show where you're like, if you're doing a show like at a bar, but it's like Comedians You Should Know, which is a show I help produce that you've been to a million times. That show is always more fun than doing like some Comedy Central showcase, or even doing one of the bigger clubs. If I was doing like Laugh Factory in Hollywood, or doing a spot on like the main stage at the Comedy Store. Those were really fun, but you know that you're not going to be as adventurous. You're not going to play around as much with those shows, like the ones with the more prestige. Whereas a fun show like a Comedians You Should Know, you're like, oh, I can do whatever the fuck I want up here. It's pure freedom, and I don't have to worry about every little thing being perfect.
And it's home field advantage too, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
Which is so important, especially Comedians You Should Know. You know the room, you know the people. That's like if I'm wrestling at like, let's say, Logan Square Auditorium for AAW, which I did a lot before the whole world shut down. I would be totally in my own element with my own fans, and they'd be ready to like, they'd be up for anything. I could almost not fail. Even if I failed, I wouldn't fail.
Yeah. See, that's where as a comedian, I'm still striving to get to that point where I could do a show where I know everyone who's in the crowd came to see me. Where, when I do clubs like Laugh Factory and Zanies, which I love these clubs, I know they're there for a show and they're there to see a bunch of comedians. So it's cool that when they're there to see you, it does feel like, obviously you could still disappoint your fans, But that initial pop when you walk out, that's got to be one of the best feelings in the world.
Yeah, that's the goal, I guess. We'll get you there. YouTube's blowing up, TikTok.
Well, they better not cancel TikTok.
Oh,
man.
yeah. What are you going to do?
Dude, I put so much work into figuring out like a new platform.
Is this real?
I don't think so. It sounds like Microsoft might buy TikTok, and you have some great stuff on TikTok, man. You're really funny on that. So I don't want to see it go away.
I was liking TikTok, but I liked doing it. See, you're putting up clips, but I like to do it in the moment when I was at wrestling shows with my wrestling friends. But now there's no wrestling shows, so my TikTok game has slowly gone downhill. But I think it's a perfect place or a platform for a comedian to put some quick 1-2 shots in there.
Hell yeah. And it's made me think about my joke writing in general, because with TikTok, everyone, there's like a money range of between 20 to like 45 seconds. You really don't want to go over 45, and then 20 is pretty good. You can even go less than 20, but I feel like they don't bump it as much. You know, TikTok kind of knows its platform. All these platforms have like a designated time in which they want you. Like right now, YouTube actually likes longer form. So they if you put a 2-minute clip on YouTube, it won't do as well as say an 8 or 10-minute clip.
Can we give you a new nickname? Now before we give you your new nickname, do you have a stand-up comedian nickname?
Let's see. Marty DeRosa, everyone has called me Kilgy, which some people hate, some people like. Ed Towns and Mike Bridenstine. Actually, Bridenstine gave me this one. He calls me the Red Mamba.
It's a good one.
By the way, I've been wearing a hat because the hair is getting really like long and kind of out of control.
Looks cool.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
All right, maybe I'll keep it off for just a touch until I feel uncomfortable, and then I'll put it back on. But yeah, I need to tighten it up a little bit. I got to figure out the lighting in here too. That's why I feel like my face is looking extra white. I made it too bright.
Also, I'm a pro wrestler with a constant fake tan at all times of the year, so I'm not doing you any favors here.
I use that as a reference with someone because I think I heard it on the radio forever ago, where someone was just saying like, "Oh, dude, black guys just in the penis department way bigger," and I'm thinking, yeah, maybe, but also it's going to look bigger because it's darker. That's not a knock on black guys, but I'd heard this on radio where it was a wrestler. I can't remember who they were interviewing. This was like Q101 in the 90s, which was a real local Chicago reference, everyone. And they were saying, well, we all fake tan because your muscles pop more when they're darker. Everything darker pops more.
Yeah.
And then I remember thinking that going.
I fake tan my penis so much more. Just constant.
You have to, right?
I want it to look as big as humanly possible.
Got to respect the game.